to the Master Reviews. I'm your host, as always, El Movie Master, and today we are reviewing the last movie in the George A. Romero trilogy. It was considered a trilogy until 1985, but then they made a sequel, and we're going to be covering that in the next review. But today we are reviewing Day of the Dead. This was released in 1985, and it is a phenomenal movie. It's a very underrated movie, in my opinion. This movie doesn't get the love that it should get. This is one of the most interesting of the George A. Romero entries. This is the first film where the zombies are starting to learn. At least one zombie is starting to get a certain primitive consciousness where he can pick up items, a gun, a videotape, not a videotape, an audio tape. You know, he's being experimented on by this doctor named Frankenstein. And he's trying to see if zombies can be domesticated just as pets. And the whole story of this movie is just a military base. It's just a claustrophobic feeling like the other films. Only this time around, it's a military base. You have a group of scientists and a group of military people who are not being very cooperative with the scientists. That's all I can tell you. The movie is very straightforward. It's actually more simple than the first two films. This is where it starts becoming more like your typical horror film. It still has a social commentary, but it's more for the horror fans. And funny thing is that I love this movie perhaps even more than the first two. And it's not for the zombie, horror, gory aspect. It's because you have people in their last moments trying to survive. This film takes probably 10 years after the first two films, because you're seeing like the complete decay of the zombie apocalypse. Whereas the second movie took place probably a year after the initial infection, this film takes place about 5 to 10 years, I would say. And you're seeing how people really are at the end. You know, you have these military individuals who have nothing in common with the scientists, but they need one another. And they're not doing a very good job at helping each other. So this movie is very underrated. Most people think it's the weakest of George A. Romero's movies. And up until 1985, that was considered the case. Then you had Land of the Dead, Diary, and Survival, which I'll be reviewing very soon, don't hold up very well. This movie, on the other hand, holds up very well. It's a classic movie. It's just as good, or perhaps even better, in my opinion, than the first two. As for the Blu-ray looks phenomenal, just as the one for Dawn of the Dead. It was released also through Anchor Bay. The one for Dawn of the Dead was released through Anchor Bay back around 2009, and this was released around the same time. They have released now a new edition through the Shriek Factory. I don't know how that one looks in terms of picture quality, but this one looks pretty good. I mean, I've owned this movie 3 times. I've owned it on tape, I've owned it on the special edition DVD that brought a diary, and on Blu-ray, and this is the best version thus far. So this movie, I give it also an A+. I know I've been giving A+'s all over the place, but this movie is just one of my favorite of the zombie genres. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, as I said, I'm starting here on YouTube. I'm trying to build an audience. It's not easy, you know, I've been doing reviews since 2010, not that frequently, but I am trying to do as much as I can. Anyway, from now until then, accept no substitutes. The Master's here.